Hi everyone. Today I would like to make a short, unscripted video. The goal is to give you an idea of what it's like to live with a basic mobile solar solution. Living off the grid is a great idea, however the execution of that idea can be a bit complicated. As far as the weather goes, I can't say if it's going to be sunny or cloudy. I want this to be as realistic as possible, which should give you a good, honest view of what it's like to try to use solar power during your everyday life. As you can see, I have an EcoFlow Pro solar generator. When I bought it, it came with a 200 watt foldable solar panel. I really love this solar generator. Every device has its own quirks, but this thing's pretty amazing. The foldable solar panels were great out of the box, however I'm not a big fan of them over the long haul. They're easy to damage, and once you damage them, they are done. In my kit, I have 3 100 watt, 20 volt rigid solar panels that I bought from Harbor Freight. In the past, I tried some 100 watt flexible panels. They worked fine, however, they too were easy to damage. So at the end of the day, I'm going to stick with the rigid solar panels from Harbor Freight. If I could go back in time, I probably would have gone with 2 200 watt panels just to save space. One of the first things you should understand about solar panels is even though they say they're 100 watts, you're probably only going to get 70 to 80 watts. It's very unusual to get the full 100 watts. I would guess the 200 watt panel is probably going to give you about 160. They also get a little worse as they heat up, so if you're getting 70-80 to begin with, by the middle of the day it's going to be a solid 70. As you can see, I made some small reflectors. I actually get about 30 extra watts using these reflectors, and when you're living off of solar, 30 watts is a great improvement. To begin with, I realized that some of the video and photo quality is not top-notch. These videos take quite a while to make, and I simply don't have the time to get them perfect. We're starting the day at 10 a.m. The EcoFlow is at 27% with an input of 319 watts. At the moment, the output is 30 watts. The devices we're using are a Hisense 40-inch Roku TV, an ON soundbar, and a Dell 15-inch laptop. Together they draw about 30 to 40 watts depending on how hard the laptop is working. Okay, it's been about an hour. Now we're up to 37, or let's just call it 38%. Our input is currently 334 watts and our output is 34 watts. It's now 11:30 in the morning. We're up to 343 watts input and we've reached 43%. You can see there's a little dip there. That would be a cloud. It's going to be a somewhat cloudy day, so this is going to increase throughout the afternoon. Alright, now we're at 350 watts and we've reached 45%. Still about 31 watts coming out. The highest I've seen this configuration reach is about 430 watts. I doubt we'll see that today. I only say that because it's slightly hazy today, and I also believe that the folding solar panel has been degraded a bit. Okay, here we have a sizable dip. Let's take a look what's going on. As I guessed, we have some clouds coming in. Clouds will really degrade your performance, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Okay, it's 11:50 and we're back to 360 watts. As you can see from the graph, we've had some clouds coming and going. As I said before, I expect this is only going to get worse as the day continues. Okay, here we have a drop and it's pretty consistent with no big dips, so something else must be going on. Can you see the culprit? There it is. Some shade from one of the trees is starting to cover one of the panels. Believe it or not, that little bit of shade is costing us about 50 watts. So here's our first reconfiguration of the day. As you can see, it's a bit cloudy right now, so I'm expecting pretty low wattage coming in. There it is. We're at 0 watts. This is what heavy cloud cover will do to you. By the looks of the sky, I'm going to guess we'll never reach 70% today, but let's see what happens. It's now 2 p.m. in the afternoon. We're pulling in about 127 watts and we're up to 66, maybe 67%. You probably noticed that we're not gaining as fast as we were this morning. This is mostly due to the clouds. But let's go see if there are any other problems. And sure enough, one of our panels has fallen down. It's also mostly shaded, so we're going to take it out of them. The foldable panel uses what's called an MC4 connector, and unfortunately the cable I have for MC4 is only 20 feet long. It won't be long enough to get this panel into the sun, so I have to take it out. Harbor Freight panels come with what's called an SAE connector. I would say if I have any complaint about the Harbor Freight panels, it's that they use this connector. They work fine, but they're really not rated for bad weather and water. The MC4 connector is a much higher quality connector. It's also rated waterproof. So between the two, you're probably going to want MC4 over SAE. I say that because a lot of times you get bad weather, your cables will wind up laying in a puddle, and you really don't want an SAE connector laying in a puddle. I'm not saying you want to lay an MC4 connector in a puddle. You honestly want to avoid water and puddles if you can, but the MC4 connector is a safer option. Here's our second configuration of the day. We're down to just the 3 Harbor Freight panels. If we're lucky, we'll get about 80 watts per panel, but with the clouds and everything going on, I think it's going to be a lot less. It's now 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and our 3 panels are giving us about 195 to 200 watts. We've reached 67% on the battery, and again, I don't think we're going to get to 70. I noticed that we're dropping slowly, and we're getting about 104 watts, so it could be clouds or shade. Let's take a look. I don't know if you can tell from the photo, but it's getting hazier and hazier, which will pull down the performance of the panels. We also have a tree that's about to get in the way, so we're going to have to adjust again. It's 2:45. We're pulling in 81 watts, and we're only at 67%. As you can see, the trees are starting to get shade in front of one of the panels, so I'm going to have to reconfigure one last time. I know from experience this is the last section that I can put these panels in this area, and this is the best layout I can come up with to avoid the trees. Not a great start, we're only pulling in 50 watts, but we'll give it some time. Looks like we've jumped up to 165 watts, and you can see it's kind of floating up and down. That's due to the haziness. One thing I haven't mentioned, you probably see the difference between the input and the solar. I think that's a quirk with the app. I don't think there's anything wrong with the hardware. So now it's 3:30, we've gotten to 68%, down to 51 watts coming in, and then we had a big drop. I think we're probably coming to the end of the day. Looks like the front panel is mostly shaded, so this will probably be the last bit of sun we're going to get for the rest of the day. We're pulling in 62 watts, we hit 68%, but I think that's the highest we're going to get. Okay, I waited till 4:30 and we're down to 0 watts. The panels are probably completely shaded by the trees. You'll see we dropped down to 66%. Obviously that's because we've been at 0 watts and therefore we're burning up our power instead of adding to it. EcoFlow shows us that we have 19 hours and 26 minutes if we continue to burn at 30 watts. This isn't completely accurate because I'll go to bed around 10 o'clock and shut everything off, so that will actually give us even more time. We definitely pulled in enough to get us through the night and probably into somewhat of tomorrow. Then the question is, what will weather be like tomorrow? And if we have a full sunny day, we'll probably get back up to 70, maybe even 80%. But if it's a cloudy, rainy day, we won't get anything. So that's going to be it for this video. If you like more details, just let me know down in the comments. I'd be glad to make a supplement video to answer any of your questions. Hope you have a great day or night wherever you are.